If you want to live longer, and who doesn't, some things are obvious. Healthy eating, exercise, if you smoke, stop. But a new study is drawing a surprising link between longevity and a common habit for many of us, drinking coffee. Our medical experts reviewed the material, and Dr. Karl Kabasele joins us now with more on it. So this study looks pretty promising?
It does in some ways, I would say. Yeah. Interesting story. If I can just explain how it kind of all unfolded. So there's been this idea that coffee may actually either increase your risk of dying early or decrease your risk. It's been controversial.
And we've always talked about it.
Exactly. So does it, is it good for you? Is it bad for you? You never know. So what these researchers did was they looked at a large amount of data, 400,000 people, followed them over 14 years. And what they found was, and this is interesting, when they looked at the raw data, people who drank more coffee were more likely to die early. And that's not the story we're telling today, and here's the reason why. The consumption of coffee tends to be associated with smoking cigarettes. It also tends to be associated with excess alcohol consumption of red meat, so other unhealthy habits. Now, when they sort of took away those confounding factors and sort of massaged the data and did some calculations, they actually found that there was a small decrease in the risk of dying early from the coffee by itself. So as long as you're having the coffee without doing all the bad stuff, you're potentially decreasing your risk of dying early.
It's a good point, though, because it is a lifestyle. Does it matter if it's regular or decaf? Do you need the caffeine?
No, it doesn't. So they found that the effect was the same whether we were talking about decaf or caffeinated coffee. Now, let me also say, though, this was an observational study, which means that we can't, there's no proof that it's the coffee that's making people live longer versus maybe some other factor that's related to both things. You see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, what if it was one of those fancy coffees with the cream and the whipped cream and the chocolate syrup?
Well,
Will I still live longer?
I doubt it, because there we're talking about extra calories, fat, sugar, all of those things that contribute to being overweight or obese, which we know can shorten your lifespan.
So then how much is too much? Because you said the people who drank the most coffee died sooner.
Well, no, we're less likely to die sooner.
Less likely to die sooner.
I know, this is all very confusing. But let me just say this. In the study, they looked at people who drank as many as 6 cups or more each day. And they found that the more you drank, the less your risk of dying early was. But here's the thing about the recommendations around coffee, at least insofar as we're talking about caffeinated coffee. Health Canada says, when they reviewed all the evidence on caffeine, that we shouldn't be consuming more than 400 milligrams of caffeine each day, which is approximately equal to 3 cups of coffee. So if you're consuming 3 cups or less of coffee each day, as far as caffeine is concerned, you're probably okay.
Okay, so have a jittery long life, really, if you double the amount. But we have heard a lot of bad things about coffee. So what do you make of this?
Well, we know in the short term that caffeine, let's say, in the short term can have physiologic effects. It can increase your heart rate, increase your blood pressure. And so the thinking was maybe there's a risk to your heart health from caffeine. This study isn't really going to prove or disprove that theory.
It's not that definitive.
Exactly. But what the researchers theorize in terms of the protection, longer life, they figure that because of the 1,000 chemical compounds in coffee, there may be something in there that's helping people to live longer, whether it's the antioxidants, the polyphenols, or maybe some other substance that we just don't know that much about.
We should have talked about this over coffee. Thanks, Dr. Karl.
Thank you.